Hey, it's me, OGDuffy, and we are back with a subject that is being discussed massively on the tubes at the moment. Oh yes, we are talking about the price and future of retro gaming, costings, etc. As you guys may or may not know, CEX have recently made some big changes to the way that they buy and sell retro games. Not just that, there's big changes ahead with eBay and Vinted, and of course we'll throw in the little bit of debate that is charity shop pricing. Oh yes, because it's all over the place. But before we get into this serious conversation, I've got to go grab something, but you already know that. Yes, my friends, let's go grab a beer. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. A very different drink for me, and it is this here. You may have seen it if you watch certain fighting sports. It is the Forged Irish Stout. Now this is Conor McGregor, I believe. Smooth roasted Irish Nitro Stout. Right, confession time. I'm not a huge Guinness drinker. So I'm probably not the best to give you a taste comparison to how this compares to Guinness. I'm just going to tip it up like they do in the pubs and just let the foamy head take itself, actually. I think that's how you do it, isn't it? How do you? I don't know. Leave that to settle. I know in the pub they pour it and then they leave it to settle and then they do it. In terms of strength, what is this? Made in Dublin, Ireland, 4.2. I think Guinness might be 4.1. So there's not a lot between them. Obviously, he's going to be ripping Guinness off with this one. Just give that a minute to settle. Now, today's debate that we're going to go through, all the things, it's imperative that you guys at home drop in the comments and join in. Because, hey, I'm only giving you my thoughts and my opinions. I could be right, I could be wrong. But your input is much needed. Feel free to disagree with me, etc. But be nice about it. Drop in the comments your thoughts and see if we agree or if we disagree and how you think the pricing of retro gaming is going to go this next year in particular. Anyway, guys, excuse the head. Let's jump in. That's very, very smooth, you know. Oh, it goes down a bit too quick, that one. Anyway, like I say, I can't really compare it to Guinness. I'm not a massive Guinness drinker. But that's rather pleasant. Let's get to the point at hand. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you may or may not have heard that their prices have increased in some aspects of the shop, okay? In particular, I've noticed with PS1 titles, it's been a great example of how they've rose the prices, and I've got a very good example which we'll come to very, very shortly. Not just that, they are now advertising on their website, which is a good thing because we have all asked for this for a very long time, whether a retro game has got a manual or not. So we now know. But the problem with that, it comes with a cost. So let's take a look at how these costs have rose quite quickly recently. The regular viewers to this channel will have known about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago now, I did a video where I went into a charity shop and I got 4 games, 4 retro titles for £1. They were 25 pence each, in case I failed to mention. Anyway, guys, this is a great example here. So here we go, right? Okay, PS1, talking about PS1 and using PS1 as an example for price changes at CEX. I picked this up. It was 25 pence. Final Fantasy number 7. It is the silver label. So that means it's the platinum range, which makes it not as expensive as the normal one. But let's take a look at how the prices have changed literally within the last week or two on this. So looking at this one here, okay, Final Fantasy, obviously you know I paid 25 pence, but that's by the by, forget that. So at the time, for me to buy this in CEX, it would have cost me £10. They would have given me £4 if I wanted store credit and £2 if I was desperate for cash. But the more observant out there would have noticed it didn't have a manual. So how is this going to affect the price? Well, as I said, now they advertise with or without menu, and this is how the manual prices are going to change things. So now, if I want to buy this without a manual, it's going to cost me £15. That's a £5 price hike, okay? They're going to be £6 store credit on that, and £3 if I wanted the cash. But if this had a manual, it's now going to cost me £20, £13 in store credit, and £9 in cash. So look at them price differences there, with or without a manual. I mean, before that, whether it had a manual or not, didn't make a difference in the pricing at all. But now it's changed massively. Be interested to know your thoughts on that, guys. Drop in the comments, please. So that is just one example of how the prices have gone up, particularly with the PS1 games. But fear not, guys, not all prices have risen yet. How long for? God only knows. PS3 titles, for example, I'm always banging on about this, and you know that. For example, let's look here, right, the Resistance games. Fall of Man, I'm always banging on about this game, right? £1 this game. How much is it now? Still £1. Jump on board. Resistance 2, £2. I paid £1 for that. So as you can see, the price on that one has doubled already, and Resistance 3 cost me £4, but guess what? The price on this has dropped. It's now £3. So it all evens out in all terms of all of them trilogy. That's the same. That's gone up. That one's come down. You do the maths. So there are some examples, only a few examples, but the ones I had to hand that were most easily identifiable very quickly for this video. So as you can see there, the PS3 games, I've done this. Some have gone up, some have come down, some have stayed where they are. But the PS1 titles in particular have all seemed to have done that. In terms of all the other retro stuff they do, I'll be honest, at this stage, I don't know if they're all going the same way as PS1, but my guess is it is. And like I say, it's over to you guys. But we'll conclude on the CEX section of this with, listen, CEX, love it or hate it. I always say this, where would we be without it? It's going to be an interesting few months. Watch this space. Next up, we come to eBay, Vinted, and them sort of companies online where we sell products by as well. So what does this mean? Well, some of you guys might have seen lots of social media posts saying the tax man's coming, you know, shock horror, shock horror. Listen. My understanding of this, and I'm not a tax expert by the way, okay, is after a financial year, eBay will pass your sale details on to HMRC, the government, the tax man. He will then work out how much extra money you've been earning and tax you appropriately if need be. Now, there's a lot of sort of grey areas in this. Some people are reporting that anything up to £1,000 you don't have to submit. Anything over £1,000 you have to then submit, etc. It'll basically mean you have to do a tax return. I'm in a position where I do a tax return already for my work at the end of the financial year, or during the financial year, so I know how to complete my tax return. But what does this mean for you know, people who've never done it before? Well, the task might be seen quite daunting. And they'll be like, oh my God, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to have to appoint an accountant and stuff. That's going to cost you more money. So what does this mean for us retro game collectors? I think it's going to be a bit of a turbulent time. I think eBay sales listings for the high-end expensive games might drop off slightly because people will be like, well, I can only sell so much per year now, and you know, I don't want to be stung on the tax, and I don't know how to do a tax return, and oh my God, I don't want the tax man coming to throw me in prison. You know what I mean? So people might be panicking. So it might mean that we don't get as many games coming on them platforms as we usually do, you know? What does it mean for people who sell and flip, etc.? Well, like I say, there's more questions than there is answers from me anyway. You need to really listen to a professional in these matters, but some people are saying if it's your own personal gear you're selling, you've already paid your tax on it, you don't have to pay tax again. Some people are saying, well, no, if it's over, you've done over £1,000 worth of sales in a year, then, you know, oh, you've got to pay your taxes. So it will all come out in the wash. there's a lot more people out there that are more knowledgeable, and I do know that there are some videos on YouTube where proper tax accountants have been discussing this and doing videos on it. My understanding as well, HMRC are no longer taking calls on it. You can't get through to their hotline because I think they've been inundated with people panicking. So in a nutshell, I think it's going to have a bit of an effect on eBay initially. We shall see though. Fingers crossed it doesn't impact too badly, but hey, you never know. As I say, I'm not an expert in any of these matters, but that's just my thoughts. Again, what are your thoughts, guys? Tax shouldn't be taxing, said the government in their adverts. But I think it is. Anyway, yeah, bottoms up. And finally, we come to them all-important charity shops. Again, I have a real mixed opinion on charity shops. I mean, when I've got me and the Mrs. OG, we've got loads of items, we gather them up, we go and we drop them off at the charity shop, so we give to the charity. Okay? I buy in charity shops, obviously. Sometimes you get absolute bargains, and sometimes the pricing is just outrageously bad. I mean, £5 for a copy of FIFA, please, come on, guys. I mean, but some of the FIFAs they're trying to bang out for like 4 or 5 notes, right? You go to CEX, they're like 50p each, and sometimes they're in a big bargain bin, they can't even give them away. So I do think some of their pricing structures are a bit weird. They're all over the place, whilst others have got it right. For me personally, this always creates debate. My personal belief is, I'm a charity shop, I've got it for nothing. Look at eBay, and look at your CEX and stuff, and try and price fairly from that. So if it's like a £10 game, put it up for £8. You're still getting a bargain, but you're still earning the charity a good few quid. And to be honest, your stock rotation will be a lot faster because you're getting it out the door quicker, getting more products on the shelf. So there we go, guys. That's my thoughts, that's my understanding of a lot of the stuff that's going on. There's a lot of changes coming with the taxation and with the CEX prices as well and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting time, and that's why I said right at the beginning of this, I want your input, guys, in the comments, please. What's your take on all this, you know? I mean, I flip the odd item on eBay and stuff like that. Like I say, I don't want to pay any more tax than I have to. Of course I don't. But hey, if you got to, ain't ya? But hopefully I can just keep it under £1,000 in a year's worth of sales. I'm sure I won't be making that many, so as long as I keep it under, I should be alright, is my understanding. But I could be wrong. I'm lucky I have an accountant, I'll ask them. That's what I pay them for after all. But like I say, not everyone's in that position, so do check out them videos on YouTube that explain it a lot deeper than I do, alright? Because there's loads out there, do check them out. And then CEX, of course. What do we think of the price hikes, especially with the PS1 example I showed you? The manual, without a manual. Do you think that's a good thing? Do we think it's a bad thing? What's our thoughts on that? And of course, that resistance game, that was interesting. Resistance 1, 2 and 3, they both work, all 3 of them still the same price on average. So, weird, weird, weird. Anyway, guys, I've been OGDuffy. And as always, this beer is for you. If you don't already do so, hit subscribe. Like, but comment. I want to hear your thoughts on all of this, please. And if you think, if you know more about it, please educate us all. Drop in the comments. All right, guys, cheers. I'll see you all on the next one. Laters.